Good evening and welcome to the Newshour Agenda. I'm Madhavdas G. Viewers, we're going to be bringing you back-to-back breakings and exclusives on the show today. So stay tuned because this is going to be part 3 as far as our expose on what has happened as far as the Operation Sindoor Files are concerned. First up, it's going to be game over for Pakistan's fans as the government plans a multi-pronged strategy to completely blacklist Turkey. It's not just tourists anymore. The government is preparing to take strong action. We'll be getting you all those updates. Next, we'll tell you about what really was America's role in brokering the ceasefire understanding between India and Pakistan. Who really made the calls? And did America have any decisive role to play? Later, we'll tell you about the truth behind the nuke buzz. What really happened at Kirana Hills? Did India really strike a nuclear facility? More on that at 10:30. And at 10:40 p.m., we put the focus on Masood Azhar and how he escaped by just a whisker. The inside details on the attack that took place on the Jaish headquarters. Viewers, we are bringing you the inside story of how Operation Sindoor was planned and formulated. India resolved to avenge the death of 26 innocent lives in Pahalgam. The strategy of the strike on Pakistan was decided when the Prime Minister was headed to Delhi from Saudi Arabia. Multiple strikes were launched on Pakistan, first their terror infrastructure and then their air defense systems and finally their air bases. Pakistan tried to defend itself with Turkey-made weapons, and over the next few minutes, we put the focus on how the government is planning a multi-pronged approach to isolate Pakistan's fans. All right, the first breaking that we're going to be bringing to you, viewers, top sources in the government telling Times Now that the government has planned a multi-pronged strategy to act against Turkey. This includes scaling down of business ties with Turkey, and flights to and from Turkey should also be scaled down. Ground handling firms from Turkey are also under the scanner as per the government. Let's quickly get in a word on this from our panel. Joining us is Dr. Anand Ragnathan, author. With us here in the studio also along with Dr. Ragnathan is Abhijit Iyer Mitra, Senior Fellow of IPCS. Kawal Sibal is a former Foreign Secretary joining us on the show. Also with us is Veena Sikri, who's joining us. She's a former High Commissioner of India to Bangladesh. Shrikant Kondapalli is Dean, School of International Studies and Professor in Chinese Studies, joining us at the moment. Let me come across to you first. Mr. Sibal, how did you look at this development? The government planning a multi-pronged strategy, because it's not just about supplying arms. Here you have a country which is one of the few that openly supported Pakistan during the military conflict.
Well, you know, I was ambassador to Turkey when we had a breakthrough in our relations, and the understanding was that Turkey would cease interfering in India-Pakistan relations, and India will not raise the Cyprus issue in the United Nations. And this worked for a considerable period of time. Till under Erdogan, Turkey became more and more Islamic in its orientation. Initially, Erdogan also sought better ties with us. He visited India also. But as he got into this whole middle of the Muslim Brotherhood and the ambitions to revive the Ottoman Empire in some ways or the other, and his interventionist model, he started supporting Pakistan on Turkey, on Kashmir. Let me tell you something. Some years ago, at a dinner at the Turkish ambassador's house, the Turkish foreign minister was there. And this issue of Turkey's support to Pakistan was raised. He was very arrogant about it. Basically, he said, lump it. This is not an issue which we wish to discuss with you. He didn't say it in these brash terms, but the central message was this. So they have now, in successive years, as Erdogan has become more and more Islamic in his orientation, they have stepped up their diplomatic and material support to Pakistan. Turkey is the only country, Erdogan is the only leader who in the UN General Assembly talks about Jammu and Kashmir. Now Azerbaijan has joined it on the last UNGA. Also, when Erdogan visited Pakistan, he talked about his brothers and sisters in Jammu and Kashmir. In other words, his brothers and sisters in Islam. But we try to deal with Turkey in a more pragmatic and mature manner. We've not cut off relations with them.
Right.
We a lot of flights going there, a lot of tourists going there.
Right.
But now I think time has come for us to take some steps. Let me say a couple of things. We never raised the issue of Turkey's illegal occupation of northern Cyprus. We never raised this issue. We never raised the issue of Turkey suppressing its Kurdish population so blatantly, violating their human rights. We never talk about Turkey's transnational aggression when they hit the Kurds in Iraq. We've not talked about their policies in Syria, their expansionist policies in Syria. We've been very cautious. But I think time has now come that we have to send some strong messages to Turkey.
Okay.
Finally, Turkey thinks that it is placed in a very important, critical, strategic, geopolitical geography. Therefore, it can play with a lot of things. It's a member of NATO, maintains good ties with Russia. It shot down a Russian plane in Syria and got away with it because it exploits its geopolitical and geographical.
Well, very, very strategic location indeed, sir. But I'm sorry I'm interrupting you. There's some breaking news coming. It's in relation to the same story that we're talking about. And when we're talking about ground handling firms, this is what top sources are telling us about a Turkish aviation firm that's under the lens. Top sources have told Times Now that Turkish firm Celebi India is under the radar. This is a firm that handles ground operations in 9 airports. The center's closely reviewing the role of this particular firm is the information coming in. And let me quickly bring in some of our panelists on this. Veena Sikri, here is a firm that, is from Turkey, a country which, in fact, has supported Pakistan, and a high security area like an airport is where it has access to. It not only does ground handling, but in the case of the New Delhi airport, it also handles cargo and logistics. Can we allow this to continue, ma'am?
No, absolutely not. I think as Ambassador Sybil has explained very clearly, I think with Turkey, we've always thought that if we intensify the economic relationship, then that will give them another reason for not openly supporting Pakistan the way they do. But we must remember that Erdogan is looking very much as rekindling the Ottoman Empire, the big caliphate that he wants to have again. And he was even talking of having this link of Turkey, Pakistan and Malaysia being the 3 leaders of this new empire. They even wanted to have a new separate OIC, a new name and separate from the regular collection of Islamic countries. So obviously Turkey has different goals and ambitions, and he thinks that he can always win the West over to his side because of his connections there. But I think now that all this has come out so clearly, I think the economic angle should be completely cut down. But that will hit Turkey hard. Already we have seen that when Indian tour operators are cancelling all the tours going to Turkey, the Turkish airlines are putting out great posters and messages telling Indian tourists, no, please come, the people of Turkey, they love you and they don't bother about political and stuff like that. So obviously it's hurting them, and we should go ahead full steam on that and cut off all the economic ties that we have tried to build up with countries like Turkey in the hopes that this would wean them away from Pakistan. But this is not to be. They are completely set on their Islamic goals and they're not going to change. The Muslim Brotherhood is more important for them than anything they want to do ever with India.
Absolutely. And maybe bring in Dr. Raghunathan. You have a firm that is from Turkey. Of course, it has subsidiaries. There are various other international countries that have invested in it as well. But the very fact that you've handed over such a sensitive role, and we have to take our security very seriously. A place like an airport, which can make you so vulnerable, is it all right to hand over such a facility or such an important function to a firm that now the government has to review it? That's a question that we have to ask us, that how was this allowed in the first place?
Good evening, Madhav, and good evening to my fellow panelists. I would like to answer your question. Absolutely not, and I'm astonished that this was going on, and I thank Abhijit for flagging this issue. Thank you, Abhijit. A couple of things out here. Let me say it bluntly. In a couple of decades from now, Pakistan would be where Afghanistan is today, and Turkey would be where Pakistan is today. We can't reinvent the wheel. This is how it happens. It starts very innocuously, but it ends exactly like an Islamic nation ends. That is the question that Turkey refuses to see or answer. Now, a couple of points. This is not about India boycotting or Indians boycotting Turkey just because Turkish weapons have been used by an enemy country. No, because Chinese weapons have also been used. Are we boycotting China? No, our trade deficit or trade with China is $120 billion. It's not about boycotting America, even though F-16s are being used by Pakistan. It is about that in this war, clear-cut war, Turkey is blatantly supporting Pakistan, condemning India for using missiles against Pakistan. Even China has not done it. So this is not about weapons of Turkey being used, as many Congresses are saying. You know, people are saying, oh, what about China? Well, for a start, I have asked India, I have been, clamoring for us not having trade with China for the last 5 years, ever since Galwan or, of course, COVID that destroyed the world economy, killed millions. Be that as it may, this distinction needs to be made. That people who want to boycott Turkey are boycotting it not because Turkish weapons are being used by Pakistan, but because it is blatantly come out in support of Pakistan, condemned India for attacking Pakistan. Terror hubs in Pakistan, that's number one. Number two, about this, Abhijit flagging this issue, this is of crucial importance. And I think you can say der aaye durust aaye, but in matters of security, there is no such thing as der aaye durust aaye. Because even a minute's delay or a week's delay can be a difference between catastrophe and something that can be saved. So I think I don't think heads need to be rolled because we don't know enough. But something needs to be done because it is
the
not
government
just
is certainly taking it seriously.
It's not just yesterday that Turkey has turned out this way. It's as Ambassador Sibbal said, ever since Erdogan came in. His stance has been anti-India.
Okay, let me bring in some more breaking news coming in related to the same story. In fact, we've told that now there's a call to end the tie-up even in the Mumbai airport. We have a Sena MLA, in fact, who's written to the Mumbai airport director. Take a look at this reaction coming in.
मुंबई एयरपोर्ट पे तुर्किश देश की एक कंपनी जो मुंबई एयरपोर्ट का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट चलाती है उसके खिलाफ शिवसेना ने मोर्चा किया था और जो एयरपोर्ट के सीईओ मिस्टर झा उनको हमने निवेदन दिया है कि इसको 10 दिन के अंदर इसका एग्रीमेंट आप कैंसिल करिए और इसका एग्रीमेंट कैंसिल करने के बाद इनको यहाँ से हद पार करिए। इसका कारण ऐसा है कि वो देश पाकिस्तान को मदद करता है।
Are you surprised, Abhijit Iyer Mitra? Finally, our political leaders have also started speaking up. It's high time that we take these issues very seriously, because at the end of the day, it's one thing to block Turkish products from coming in here. It's one thing to stop our tourists from going there. But a large part of our international tourists actually fly out through Turkey, through Istanbul.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just to add to what Ambassador Kanwal Sibbal said, I think we should name the road on which the Turkish embassy is the Armenian Genocide Memorial Road. That's the most important thing that needs to be done right now. But let me tell you some other interesting facts about Chalebi. The part owner, we suspect about 10% of it is owned by Sumaya Erdogan, which is Erdogan's daughter. And guess who she is married to? Selçuk Bayraktar, the same guy who produces the Bayraktar drones, which were used against India. Which were also used against Armenia, which were also used by Ukraine against Russia and things like that. This is actually a direct ownership link to the drones that were used against India. This is very important we remember this. Now, is it very clear to establish? No, because these are done through shell companies and things like that. But Turkish newspapers have been full of these reports that at least 10% of the ownership lies with Sumaya. On paper, it is all owned by the Chalebi family, but 10% is owned there. This is a very similar holding pattern to, Saudi Auger and Saudi Bin Laden group. So, the Saudi Auger group is technically owned by Rafiq Hariri's family, who were the prime ministers of Lebanon. But the Saudis, and they have an absolute monopoly on construction in Lebanon, but the Saudis own 51% of it. Similarly, the Bin Laden group of our beloved friend Osama Bin Laden was again 51% owned by the Saudi royal family. Now, the Saudis have moved away from this, but in Turkey these days, in order to survive, you have to give the Erdogan family something or the other, and that is how this lady owns this thing. What is even more alarming is that the Chalebi terminal in Delhi, the cargo terminal, overlooked the technical VIP area where our electronic intelligence aircraft, the Prime Minister's VIP aircraft, where these guys could have brought in any kind of electronic equipment. Now, the Cargo Operators Association I'm helping them draft a letter right now to the Prime Minister. They have been telling me that they have consistently been complaining to the government about the kind of third-rate treatment, outright racist treatment that these Chalebi operators in Delhi airport used to subject them to.
Okay.
You know,
that's very big news. That's very big news that you're getting us.
So, you know, this is a very, very dangerous company that needs to be kicked the hell out of India. And the second maybe is to get Turkish Airlines out of India, because, you know, they've been leveraging their position. Like Ambassador Sikri said, you know, that that central sort of focus point of Anatolia to exploit connections to Europe. And they do it in a very cheap way because their overheads are very cheap. So this also needs to be ended now.
Do we have Turkish pilots for Indian Airlines?
No, we don't thankfully have Turkish pilots for Indian Airlines. But the more important thing we need to remember is most of Turkish Airlines pilots are retired Turkish Air Force pilots.
Okay.
You see? So there is a whole load of things coming together in terms of signals intelligence, electronic intelligence, snooping on the technical area at Palam, the ownership of this by a lady who is married into the Bayraktar drone family thing, which is all adding up into a regular and consistent pattern, which is a clear and present danger to the Indian Republic.
Okay, there's some big breaking news coming in. I quickly want to, in fact, take our viewers across to this. A Chinese spy ship has entered India's waters. This Chinese spy ship is now approaching the Bay of Bengal. Let's quickly bring it up on the map over here if we can. But that's the latest breaking coming in. And in fact, I want to quickly take this across to our colleague Rishabh, who's joining us with that information, because this is very, very serious. Chinese a ship that was spotted near Malacca a short while earlier is what we were told, and this is in fact the position 4 days ago, moved closer in fact towards India is the information coming in. This is the Da Yang Yi Hao. This is the position 4 days ago that you can see. It has apparently moved a lot closer to the Bay of Bengal is the latest information coming in, and very, very important, because in the past as well we've seen these quote-unquote research ships that have in fact entered close to Indian waters. We've seen one in Sri Lanka some time ago, and now once again this particular ship that's entered the Bay of Bengal is the information coming in. Let's quickly in fact take this across to Rishabh. Rishabh, very, very big news coming in. What are your sources telling you? Is this ship going to be in the Bay of Bengal, and what will India's response be?
Well, Madhav, what we are given to understand that this is a surveillance ship. As per Chinese methodology, this is a research vessel. But we all know how research vessels in past have turned out, be it in Hambantota or be it in Maldives as well in last 2 years. Now, what we are given to understand that this quote-unquote research vessel is one of its most advanced that China has, and can actually survey the depth of ocean, even the floor of ocean, in and around the ocean, and can actually get you the radar positions, the ship positions, as well as the movements of ship. As per the maps that we have from open sources, this was in Singapore, moved to Malaysia, and has now entered Bay of Bengal. Given that the port call has yet not been confirmed for the ship, there are sources which suggest that this could either go to Maldives or Mauritius. Given the relationship between India and Mauritius, Mauritius is very unlikely, and hence it could take a port call in Maldives, and that is something that everyone is keeping an eye on. What if it crosses Maldives and moves towards Karachi Harbour?
All right. Very many questions. Big questions coming there, Rishabh. Stay with us because we have some more breaking news after this. But for the moment, I want to take it across to Srikanth Kondapalli, who's Dean of the School of International Studies and Professor in Chinese Studies, JNU. Mr. Srikanth Kondapalli, how do you view this? Is this a move that is entirely something that is unpredicted? And what would India's response be from here on?
Well, soon after the Pahalgaon attacks, there were 246 fishing vessels which are floating in the Bay of Bengal from China. Some of these are also snooping around, and so the ship that you mentioned is apart from the fishing vessels that have entered into the Bay of Bengal. So this is probably to kind of look at the Indian Navy's operations. As you know, the Indian Navy had mobilized during the Operation Sindhoor, and possibly these are to gather information in regard to the Indian Navy operations. The one that you have shown is a regular feature in the recent times. Yuan Wang 5 was docked in Hambantota and also in other places. It was looking at the Bay of Bengal substantially, and the undersea related information they are gathering. In addition to the Chandipur on sea ballistic missile launches, which they are also tracking. But other than this, there is the Xiang Yung Hung surveillance ship, as well as others. So there are at least 8 to 9 such missions in the waters close to the Andaman Nicobar and the Bay of Bengal every year. And so, yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Gunapalli, stay with us. There's some more breaking news that is in fact coming in, and this of course is what government sources are telling us. It's a big one because this is about the role of the United States in the ceasefire understanding between India and Pakistan. You remember what US President Donald Trump has said just days earlier. He's claimed that they ensured as far as the fact that there would be no nuclear conflict, there would be no nuclear war between the two nations. More importantly, he's also claimed that to a large extent he used trade to convince the two countries for a ceasefire. Let's remind you of what he said.
Just days ago, my administration successfully brokered a historic ceasefire to stop the escalating violence between India and Pakistan. And I used trade to a large extent to do it. I said, fellas, come on, let's make a deal. Let's do some trading. Let's not trade nuclear missiles. Let's trade the things that you make so beautifully. It all stopped. Hopefully it'll remain that way, but it all stopped. I was very proud of Marco Rubio and all of the people that worked so hard. Marco, stand up. What a great job you did on that. Thank you, J.D. Vance. I think they're actually getting along. Maybe we can even get them together a little bit, Marco, where they go out and have a nice dinner together. Wouldn't that be nice?